Hey guys, so I know we did this in our little virtual session on Monday, but I thought it might be helpful to do it again in a little video format. Today we're going to do some of the components. So components are essentially any object inside of Revit that you want to make. I'm trying to think of a way to really simplify this. Think of components as essentially any modeled piece of a family that isn't one of the primary categories inside of Revit. That's probably the simplest way to think about this. Refrigerators, ovens, dishwashers, you can have three-dimensional components or two-dimensional components. For us, I'd like to stick to three-dimensional components for now, and then we can step into two-dimensional components later. So 3D components being essentially three-dimensionally modeled things, little families we can have inside of our project. And then two-dimensional components are kind of little drawings, right? So drawings inside of the model in a very similar way that you might consider a block inside of AutoCAD. So let's go ahead and jump in here. So what family, component families do we have in our model? We've got a sink, we've got a dishwasher, we've got this cabinetry in here. If I zoom in, we've got a refrigerator. In the bathroom, we have a sink and a counter. We've got a toilet right up against the wall. We've got a bathtub, so on and so forth. So the first thing is, where are they? So if you're like, where are they? He said they were on Blackboard. They're on Blackboard. So take a look on Blackboard. Be mindful that all of the files will say Autodesk Revit family or .rfa. All of these RFAs, you should be loading them into your project anyways. They should exist somewhere in your project. And then we just got to find them. So there's annotation families. Here we've got casework families. We got door families, dryer families, economizer. This is an HRV or ERV, I should say. We've got an oven, a refrigerator with French doors, washer, dryer, all this fun stuff. So I got Revit open already. And I thought it might be helpful just to kind of go through and a couple ideas about what these components are. So if I just double click on one of these, it'll open it for me. How about we start with something simple like refrigerator? I think everyone knows what a refrigerator looks like. This is unfortunately a very high-end refrigerator. This is not something I've ever owned, but maybe one day. You know, the future is always on the horizon. So this is a nice little Sub-Zero, or maybe Sub-Zero is probably what this is. So really nice refrigerator. So I double clicked in here, and this is a family. This is what somebody has modeled this. So I want to be super clear here. In my classes, you are super welcome to download and use as many of these families as you like. My attitude about this stuff is I would never want you to start to model something like this refrigerator from scratch. That's not to say there will definitely be an assignment where I want you to model a custom family component for cabinetry. That's going to happen a little bit later in the class, but it's just to kind of get you familiar with using the family tools. For now, and in the office, when you guys inevitably get employed, it can be very helpful to have these existing families that somebody else has made that are usually free. In this case, this is an Autodesk generated family that I've downloaded. And we can just put them right into our models. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is one way to get the components into our model. Remember, these are component families. I'm going to load into project. It's going to say, I've already got door opening family open, so I should probably close that. I want to load it into my components module here. So I'm going to hit OK. And you'll see it is the first thing that is open here. So I've got my refrigerator in my type selector in the properties palette over here. So on the left, M refrigerator French doors, 900. It's not quite in the right orientation, so I'm going to hit spacebar. Now it's going to rotate it for me. Now it's going to ask me, where do you want this refrigerator to be located? And you can kind of hover. It's going to try and snap to certain things, right? So I'm just kind of hovering over the wall here. I think this is about where it is. If I click once, now it's live inside of the model. It's a refrigerator. So, very similarly, you could go ahead and what else do we have here? We've got the oven, the dishwasher, the everything but the kitchen sink. We've got the countertop. So a slightly different version of this is that we can actually come into, if you know where your component lives, I can come over here, hit load family, and if I come down here to, where is my handy dandy? Yeah, there we go. The preview. So if I can hover over any of these, and once I click it, I'll get a little preview of what it looks like. Revit in all its glory has never actually updated, how big you can make this. I would love to have a little bit of a larger thumbnail here. It's too bad we don't have that. But I know this is the one that I want. It's just really hard to see. So what I'm going to do is just hit open here. And now you're like, what the hell? What the hell, Revit? Where is it? So I've loaded the family, but it's not actually here. So what I can do is I can come over here to the architecture tab, and I'm looking for a component here, place component, and lo and behold, there it is. So for the sink, I'm going to click over here somewhere. Now, we should make note that in this case, there's a whole bunch of settings that I can modify with this countertop here. First of which is I can flip, right? So I can flip the location here of that leg, right? Which is probably what I need to do. Yeah. And then make sure everything lines up correctly. It's about right. Oh, almost right. Whoops. I'm going to move it. So MV is move, and I'm going to snap it to the corner there. But you will also see these little kind of pulls on the edges here. So in this case, this pull is going to pull the, what's it called? The leg. So this is leg 2. So you can see leg 2 in the properties palette adjusting. So leg 2, maybe I make it 1800, right? It's going to modify that. And now I'm going to drag this leg all the way to the wall. And so the sink also has its own kind of pulls. And we're going to try to locate that sink in the middle of the window here. But you'll notice this is not going to be perfect. That's okay. So the sink itself, there's no actual sink here, right? So there's no sink here. But we can actually modify the sink width to be whatever we want. Let's call it 650. Sure, it's fine. And I actually think in the drawings, I've moved this all the way to the wall here. So that's cool. I'm actually overlapping the wall somehow. Okay, cool. And now we've got our refrigerator, we've got our countertop. What else do we need? We probably want the oven, the dishwasher, and the sink. So what we can do is if we jump over to the architecture tab, and we'll see component here. If I hit place component, the last way to get a family in here, I'm going to load family, and I'm going to grab my sink. I think it's going to be this one. Hit open. And again, it's not quite what I want. Where's my sink? I can come up here to the type selector and find it. Now, spacebar will rotate my sink around. Whoops, I was looking for the center. What have I done? What have I done? I try that one more time, but slower. Place component, looking for the sink, search for sink. Sometimes Revit is not so smart. Search for sink, spacebar, spacebar, spacebar. Get me flipped. Interesting. So now what's happening is I can tell that my sink is on the floor, which is so goofy, but that is what is happening. So where are you, sink? We will try this. Where is my sink? Okay. So I can see one thing that's kind of messing us up here is if I go to a 3D view, maybe it's going to help me out here. Is that sink on the ground? No. Oh, everything's here. Interesting. So the sink is showing up, but it's not showing up in my view. Interesting. Why are you doing that to me? I'm going to go all the way back. I'm going to redo this. I'm not sure why Revit is misbehaving, but let's try this again with my sink. And we'll flip this, move it over. Grab this, pull it over. Sorry guys, just trying to figure out what the heck's going on in 3D. Oh, I see. So there is technically already a sink there. That's why. I wonder if I got the wrong sink. I don't think so, but let's just make sure. So place, insert. I'm gonna load the family here. I'm gonna insert my sink family again and just make sure everything's cool. Where is my sink? Single. Yeah, let's do this. And I wonder if it just kind of did something weird here. So strange. Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to do. Thank you, Revit. So now the sink is live in the model. I'm not sure what that was about, but always small challenges with Revit here. So we're looking for the oven. Let's grab our, I'm going to insert again. So insert, load family. Let's look for the oven and open that up. And again, you're not going to see anything live here. Let's do place component, and the oven has appeared. So the oven, we're going to slide it underneath over here. And now we've got the dishwasher, place component, load family. Let's look for the dishwasher. That's a dryer. Where's my washer? Oh shoot, I don't have the dishwasher in here either. Okay, I must be missing the dishwasher. That's okay. That's a stove. Okay, that's okay. So I don't have the... now, one really good question somebody asked during the Revit session here that I want to address here is how to get rid of the label on the oven. Say you don't actually want it in this view, and the way you do that, you're going to come here into the edit, and this little show label button, click that off. Ta-da, no more oven label. So for whatever reason, if you want to turn that off, if that's for you, do that. And now we just have a cleaner looking plan, right? So looks good. Now maybe we can move over here into the bath here. So I've got, I'm gonna load a component. I'm gonna load my toilet, and where is my toilet? Flush tank toilet. So if you're like, where the hell is a toilet? It's called a flush tank. We're gonna pop that in there, put it right up against the window. There's one. Similarly, let's, I'm gonna insert load family. I know I'm jumping between here, so let's do single vanity, but I want this one. Hit open, go to architecture, place component, hit spacebar, rotate it, and now I've roughly got a nice little vanity in here, and now I will also load my sink. So where's my sink? Here it is. If you hit spacebar, rotate, same thing, grab my, where's my bath? Hit my bath button here, spacebar, which way is it going? That's right. Oh shucks, okay. Just moving it so that's right up against here. Let's move this wall slightly down. I'll move this whole assembly slightly down. And we'll just expand this family to fit inside of our little space that we've got there. Lo and behold, we've got a little bathroom. We got some sinks and we should be in pretty good shape here. So, roughly speaking, we got a bunch of components in here. There are additional components in the basement, so I welcome you to try those out. They are all part of the Revit kind of family in there. So that's components. I should mention there's a couple things here that I didn't touch on. So in terms of the sinks or in terms of these other items here, all of these components will have their own subset of rules, criteria, constraints. So the most important one for me anyways is going to be, where is it hosted? So here, click on the component, and over here on the level, you can see main floor. We can change this to any of the levels. Well, in this case, it's not going to change. But when we do the, see how it says elevation from level 2600? It's lifting it up from the basement. So main floor is 0. So we have an elevation that we can set. For the sink, very similarly, this is a little bit more complicated of a family, or a component, where we have these additional parameters we can set with how our wall is going to be, how our the edges of our countertop are going to be set up with the toilet. What else do we have here? Flow pressure, if that's something you're interested in. Anyhow, that's components. Really helpful for getting some, toilets and sinks and all those fun things into our projects. Again, you can download a lot of these components from the internet. You can also, hold on, I'm going to do one thing real quick. I realized, so I've given you a bunch of components. They are from Autodesk. But if you are really curious about where these components kind of come from, you can also, of course, use the load Autodesk family command. I'm just going to touch on this real quick. So load Autodesk family command, if I click on this, there are a whole bunch of families for free that live in here. Now, Autodesk is going to ask that you log in here. So if you don't have a login, you may not have access to this. But for us, I've downloaded as many of the families as I think that we'll need for our little assignment here. Casework, click on casework. We've got all of these little cabinets and stuff for the kitchen, say for instance. You can tell a lot of this stuff has already been modeled. Why would you do this from scratch? So yeah, all you would do is load in. Let's do a little vanity cabinet here, nice and shallow. Hit that load command, and now, well, it hasn't actually appeared yet, but if I come over to architecture, component, place component, I'll have a little vanity here. Wonderful. Just so you know, that's for you. It's for free. It all exists in the space of what little Autodesk Revit offers us for free. And yeah, that's it. So in the next video, we'll cut a hole in the slab and we'll do a little stair. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.